No matter who you are, when you sit down to play Scrabble, you have to decide who has the first move of the game. But is going first in Scrabble actually an advantage? Many of you have asked me to cover this topic, and even more of you have already made your preference known, usually right after I post a video for some reason I haven't quite figured out. Anyway, in this video, we're going to take a closer look at whether or not going first in Scrabble is actually good and why the answer is trickier than it might seem. The evidence suggests that going first is a clear advantage. In evenly rated over-the-board tournament games between expert players, the player going first won 54.9% of the time, a small but decisive advantage. In AI versus AI games, where both players are equally skilled by definition, we see a similar trend. The player going first wins just over 55% of the time. Winning your coin flip, tile draw, or however else you decide who goes first accounts for a swing of roughly 5% from one player to the other. As for why going first is an advantage, the answer is relatively straightforward. As player one, if you also make the final move of the game, it'll result in you having an extra turn in that game compared to your opponent. In the AI versus AI dataset, the player going first averaged 11.31 turns per game, whereas the player going second averaged 10.81 turns per game, the exact half-turn difference we would expect to see. Overall, first move advantage in Scrabble is similar to chess, where white's winning percentage is generally considered to be somewhere between 52 and 56%. However, there isn't really any clear advantage to playing as black in chess, at least in games between high-level AI players like Stockfish. By contrast, in Scrabble, there are some ways where going second can actually be advantageous compared to going first. Let's say you're going first with this rack. Sadly, vitreous isn't an acceptable word, although it looks like one. You do have 97 valid words to play here, the best of which appears to be virtue for 24 points, placing the 4-point V on the double letter score, avoiding placing any vowels next to bonus squares for your opponent to use, and retaining your S for next turn while also creating a hook for it. However, imagine now that you draw this same rack going second. If your opponent plays any vowel, you'll be able to respond with a high-scoring bingo as your first move of the game. Just hope they don't troll you by opening with croth. Unlike in chess, where your initial holdings are the same in each and every game, in Scrabble your initial holdings can vary hugely, and there are a whole lot of racks that perform significantly better going second compared to first. Not only that, but on the first move, you don't have a lot of scoring options. If you draw a 7-letter bingo, it'll always play, but you can't quite reach the triple word scores, which are just out of reach. The best you can do is the double letter, double word combo using the center star. However, as player 2, not only will you still be able to play many of the 7-letter bingos you draw by connecting to player 1's initial play, but you'll also have the option of playing 8-letter words, which player 1 did not. If you're lucky, you might even reach the triple word score. You also get the first crack at extension plays to the triple, and even the ability to make plays hitting 2 double word scores, effectively a quadruple word score. Returning to our AI versus AI game set, the player going first averages 31 points per turn with their first move, whereas the player going second averages almost 39 points per turn in response, driven primarily by a large increase in bingo percentage thanks to the additional option of 8-letter words. But here's the thing. If you're going first and draw a rack that performs better going second, you don't have to play a word. Going first with this rack, you could simply pass your turn here. If your opponent is inexperienced, this may work exactly as you intend, with your opponent playing a vowel and giving you a bingo in response. However, a savvy opponent will correctly interpret your pass as a trap. They'll know you want them to play a word and will likely respond by exchanging their weakest tiles or by simply passing their turn right back to you. Rather than pass, you could also intentionally play an invalid word. If you bluff with vitreous, for example, an inexperienced player may not challenge, giving you 78 points to start the game, while risking your friendship in the process. However, again, an experienced player will challenge this word and will then have perfect knowledge of your letters, giving away your plan. Accidentally playing something like vitru instead of virtue could work, baiting your opponent to challenge and then play a vowel, but this could also backfire if one of these letters gives them a good play in response. They might leave your invalid word on the board if it benefits them, foiling your plan in the process. In general, against experienced players with racks that are close to a bingo but not quite there, exchanging tiles will often be your best choice when going first. Let's look at a different example, this time from a game played by reigning world champion Adam Logan against another legendary grandmaster from Thailand in Gomon. Here, Adam has the first move holding these tiles. He has almost 200 words to choose from here, but none of them are 7-letter bingos. If Adam were going second in this game, Gomon could give him an 8-letter word as a response with a variety of letters. However, as player 1, Adam decides to simply exchange one tile, the O. The computer engine strongly approves of this choice. With the 6 tiles he keeps on his rack, 63 of the 93 tiles unseen to Adam will give him a 7-letter bingo, and he'll have great chances of also drawing 8-letter words through almost anything Gomon may play in response. It may look strange that Adam is ceding the right to play the first word of the game to his opponent, but he's given himself an excellent chance to play the first bingo of the game and to reap the higher scores that player 2 typically enjoys. Opening move exchanges are very commonly seen at high levels of Scrabble, where players have trained themselves to see all of the 7- and 8-letter words that their tiles allow them to play. We've already compared Scrabble to chess, but Scrabble sits at a really interesting midpoint between chess and poker. In poker, contrary to the other two games, it's generally considered better to act last in the turn order. That's because you can gain so much information from the actions of your opponents before making your own decisions. In Scrabble, the first turn of the game is the only one where you're guaranteed to have no info from your opponent to guide your choice. On the other hand, player 2 can potentially make big adjustments based on player 1's opening move. Here is a well-known example from a legendary 2018 championship game between Joel Sherman and Nigel Richards. Going first, Joel has good bingo tiles with the exception of the 2 U's, and as with our previous example, he exchanges them, the computer engine's preferred choice. Going second, Nigel holds decent bingo tiles himself with the exception of the Q. Had he gone first, his choice would have been obvious. Cat for 24, ridding himself of the Q and scoring solidly. However, in this situation, after Joel's exchange 2, Nigel makes a huge adjustment and exchanges OQ instead. For Joel to exchange 2 tiles, he must really like the other 5 left on his rack, which will often include good bingo tiles like the S. Playing cat increases the expected value of Joel's bingos beyond what he would otherwise score, and leaving the mediocre ELNO as a leave hurts Nigel's chances to respond with his own bingo. Exchanging OQ improves his chances to respond to Joel's likely bingo with one of his own, or even to beat him to the race to bingo first if Joel bricks his draw. When inferring a strong 5-tile leave for Joel, amazingly, Nigel's exchange is the computer engine's top choice. However, even though the first turn of the game is the only one where you'll have no opportunity to adjust to your opponent, it's also the only turn where you get to set the tone for the game with no interference. For example, take a look at this opening rack. The best word to play from this rack is OVOLO, a type of decorative molding. However, as player 1, you have several competitive options for where to place it. The highest scoring positions are here, each scoring 18 points. Both of these allow the majority of 7-letter words player 2 may have to fit on the board. On the other hand, if you prefer a defensive play style, you might consider playing it here for a 2-point sacrifice. The V lands in just the right spot to stop player 2 from playing 7-letter words on the left side, and the specificity of overlaps on the right side will also prevent a lot of those 7s as well. Other ways to set the tone are playing bingos in the most volatile spot to put extra pressure on your opponent, and there's even the decision between playing horizontally or vertically, which may seem inconsequential thanks to the board's orthogonal symmetry, but is nevertheless a topic of spirited debate among tournament players. So, with all that being said, the simple answer is still yes. Going first in Scrabble is an advantage. Before the game begins, the possibility of having one more turn than your opponent gives you an extra 5% winning chance. But keep in mind that going second does have advantages as well, including higher scoring potential and higher bingo chances than player one. You may draw a rack where you're actually glad that you're going second, and with no ability to get a read on you, your opponent will often give you the exact letters you need. Drop a comment with which turn you prefer to have in your Scrabble games, though I know you already are going to do that on every video I post. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to my channel for more Scrabble content every week, and as always, thank you so much for watching.